It's going to paint a picture that's going to be politically very devastating. I still don't think it's going to make a criminal case because collusion is not criminal.
But conspiracy to cooperate with an attempt to defraud the United States government is a crime.
No, it's too much of a stretch. Conspiracy to attempt to obstruct to the United States government, they're going to need more than that. What I think Mueller's going to do if he's smart, he's not going to take a chance on being rebutted. He's going to just lay out just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. He's going to lay out the facts, leave it to Congress to decide whether that rises to the level of impeachable offense.
And that was, of course, famed law professor Alan Dershowitz on the Sunday shows just yesterday describing what he expects to happen when Robert Mueller, the special counsel, drops his final report on Russian interference into the 2016 election. Now, of course, they're also alleging collusion on the part of the Trump campaign during that 2016 election. For more on this and Dershowitz's comments, let's bring in our good friend, former federal prosecutor and founder of Freedom Watch, Larry Klayman. Larry, great to see you. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Had a good weekend.
Yeah, it was great. Great to see you. All right, so what do you make of what Dershowitz said there? Because I happen to agree with him. It's going to be a devastating report politically, but I don't think that Mueller is going to make any criminal allegations against Donald Trump. My speculation, Larry, tell me where I'm wrong, is it's going to be a lot of you ran a very disorganized campaign. You had people like Manafort and Papadopoulos running around meeting with bad actors, even though I don't believe that that's true in the case of Papadopoulos. And what Manafort did was in 2006, had nothing to do with the campaign. And I also believe that Mueller is going to imply that Trump had a hand in hush money payments to people like Stormy Daniels, et cetera. But I don't see a DOJ prosecution here. What do you say?
I don't either, John, but I've been saying this for a long time. Exactly what Dershowitz is saying is that what's on the horizon for the president's a very dark cloud. And that's why I don't understand why his lawyers have sat there inert now for a year and a half when they could have challenged Mueller's authority, like one of the witnesses, Andrew Miller, has done, and brought cases with regard to the illegal surveillance to really fight back legally, not just taking punches.
But what's the dark cloud? Larry, go back to one of the first things you said just now, that there's a dark cloud coming for the president. In what way? Specify for me.
Well, as Dershowitz alluded to, I disagree with one aspect of what Alan said, however, and that is that Mueller's just going to lay out the facts. Mueller is highly partisan. He's part of this Republican-Democrat deep state establishment. They want the president gone. He's going to twist any facts that he puts in that report, and he's going to hand it up to the House of Representatives, run by Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, and the rest of them, and it's going to be an inquisition.
But Larry, I thought, let me stop you there for a moment. I thought that the report, the way I understand it, the report doesn't go to Congress unless the acting attorney general or the soon-to-come confirmed attorney general, whomever that may be, decide to release the report. The way I understand it is the special counsel gives it to whomever their boss is at DOJ. Right now, that's Whitaker, and it'll be whomever the next attorney general is, and then that individual can do what they want with it. They can release it to the public, they could send it to the White House, they could make it public, or they could send it to Congress, or they could lock it in a safe and do nothing with it. So how would it get to Congress in an official capacity?
You're technically correct. And the same thing was true with regard to Ken Starr when he was independent counsel with Bill Clinton. As a practical matter, Whitaker has been neutralized right now. He's going to be a lamb. He's not going to be the lion that the president hopes. He wants his own future in Washington. And if you go against the Democrats and the mainstream media, you've got no future. That's just the way it works in this swamp. So it will wind up in Congress 100%. Dershowitz predicted it will be made public. Of course, it'll be made public. And it'll therefore be in front of Congress. And there's so many leaks that are coming out of the Mueller team. You want to call it a team. I would call it a cabal. That there's no way you're going to keep any of this confidential. In fact, it'd be better if it got out so selective leaks don't occur. But what we're looking at right now is almost certain impeachment of the president of the United States. And he needs to start fighting back. He is entitled to ask for investigations of Hillary Clinton, of Mueller, of everyone else. He's not entitled to ask for their prosecutions, but he can ask for investigations. He's the head of the Justice Department.
Well, and Larry, just to be clear for the viewers, you're referring to the reports over the last week that the president wanted to see James Comey and Hillary Clinton prosecuted, but he was talked down from that by former White House counsel Don McGahn. That's what you're referring to, right?
That's right. He can't technically say prosecute. He can order an investigation, and he should have done that a long time ago. And his lawyers, I don't mean to keep picking on them, John, but they're twice too cute. They are part of this Washington establishment. It's why I'm trying to do whatever I can at Freedom Watch to defend this president. Others are doing the same, but his lawyers aren't doing the job. And there's a report this morning that he's understaffed in the White House counsel's office and not prepared for the deluge of subpoenas that are going to be issued by the House of Representatives once they take control in early January. Things are not looking good. And
Larry, let me go to a couple of tweets that the president posted earlier today, because it dovetails very nicely with what you're saying. Here's what he said about the reports swirling around that Mueller's report is about to drop the hammer on Trump, his administration, his campaign. The president wrote, quote, "When Mueller does his final report, will he be covering all of his conflicts of interest in a preamble? Will he be recommending action on all of the crimes of many kinds from those, quote, on the other side? Whatever happened to Podesta? And will he be putting in statements from hundreds of people closely involved with my campaign who never met, saw, or spoke to a Russian during this period? So many campaign workers, people inside from the beginning, ask me why they have not been called. They want to be. I presumably believe that's by Mueller. There was no collusion, and Mueller knows it." Now, the president seems pretty bold here. He seems pretty definitive. He was very vocal about answering his questions in writing. He doesn't seem shaken or frazzled in the least. Isn't that a good indicator that he might know more than we do and that Mueller really has nothing?
He may know that Mueller has nothing. I believe Mueller does have nothing. But the problem with that is that actions speak louder than words, John, and he needs to take action right now. You know, his last attorney general, to use the term loosely, passed all of this off to John Huber in Utah, the U.S. attorney there.
Yeah.
And internally at the Justice Department. And so Mueller simply has to say, hey, I wasn't in charge to look into this. There were other people that were. When Jeff Sessions, in fact, created a situation where nothing was going to happen, where it got buried. So there's not going to be any pushback for Hillary Clinton or any of the others. Hillary knows that, or she wouldn't be now saying she's going to run for president again. She knows she's untouchable. And the president himself needs to take control, not in a way that's over the top. But number one, he needs to fire those lawyers. He needs to get other lawyers in there and get prepared for what, as the French said, après-moi le déluge, you know, and Louis XV. That's what's coming right now. And he's got to get prepared to take control of this Justice Department, because Whitaker is a young guy. He doesn't have a lot of gravitas. He doesn't want to sacrifice his own career. Nobody in Washington does that, regrettably. And he is technically the head of the Justice Department, so he can push back against Mueller, order an investigation of Mueller with no conclusions, order an investigation of the Clintons, of Loretta Lynch, of all of them. And that's what he should have done a long time ago.
All right, Larry, let's talk about Jerome Corsi, the author, for a moment here. Now, of course, he's the author of the book Killing the Deep State. Well, according to Corsi, in a phone call to CNN, he's rejected a plea deal offered by Mueller, this on one count of either perjury or false statements to federal investigators. This all centers around Corsi's alleged contact with Trump's longtime aide. Well, he was an advisor during the campaign. They know each other a long time. Roger Stone, I wouldn't really call him a longtime aide, as the media has reported. And it was all surrounding the WikiLeaks release of Hillary Clinton's emails. Well, what Corsi told CNN, Larry, was, quote, "The special counsel can put me in prison for the rest of my life. I'm not going to sign a lie." Now, to me, that's a pretty powerful statement when you view it and you read it next to the decades of impropriety allegations against guys like Andrew Weissman, Mueller's number 2, playing fast and loose with the rules, Tony Podesta getting limited use immunity, but General Flynn being prosecuted. This is a pretty bold statement by Corsi. Doesn't this warrant an investigation of the special counsel and their tactics?
It does, and let's put this in a hypothetical. Why would you agree to any plea, to plead to anything, a felony, even a misdemeanor, if you don't know what Mueller's going to do if he goes in front of the court after that plea is entered, that you didn't cooperate, and then the book gets thrown at you for, in fact, allegedly making false statements, which you don't believe that you ever made?
Right.
Why would you agree to a plea agreement? You can see what the others, the deep that they're in right now, whether it's Papadopoulos or whether it's Mike Flynn or others. They should never have agreed to anything. And in fact, Manafort's in front of the court apparently today with regard to his plea, and Mueller's probably going to say he hasn't been cooperating appropriately, and therefore, he will have pled for something that, in fact, got him no benefit. So to deny a plea at this time by Corsi is hypothetically the right move.
Yeah, and real quick, we have about a minute left, but you mentioned Papadopoulos, right? Papadopoulos begins serving jail time today, and I say that loosely. 14 days, he gets 14 days in actual jail, then he's on probation for a year, 200 hours of community service, and a $9,500 fine. In the grand scheme of federal sentencing, pretty light. So it seems to tell me that Mueller got Papadopoulos on essentially nothing, and Papadopoulos caved or didn't have the money to spend on legal fees. 30 seconds to you, Larry. Your feelings on this.
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Papadopoulos pled out. He's kind of in a fix right now. He asked the courts to defer until Andrew Miller, one of the witnesses in the grand jury, plays out his challenge to Mueller's authority. The judge, Randolph Moss, who's an Obama appointee, not coincidentally, we've talked about that, refused to allow that happen. That would have been reasonable. But Papadopoulos made a mistake, and I pray for his safety. You're never safe in a federal prison.
Yep. Larry Klayman, as always, Larry. Enjoy your expertise. Thanks very much for being here.
God bless, John.
All righty, coming up, it's Cyber Monday, but are you really getting the best deals? Well, we're going to talk to someone who says you actually might be paying more. I'm going to tell you all about that when we come back. America Talks Live. We'll be back with you shortly.